A blessing in disguise is, according to Wikipedia, an English language idiom referring to the idea that something that appears to be a misfortune can have unexpected benefits. Examples include losing a job only for a much better opportunity to rise in its absence, or being informed that you're a casual COVID contact and being told to immediately self-isolate, meaning that you get some time off work to instead work on videos and relax. Unless I actually end up getting COVID, that would render it all null and void. Or another example, jumping on a paddle boat to go out fishing one morning, only to accidentally board the paddle boat of a pirate crew and then spend the next 2 years as their cabin boy, only for that to be the roundabout way for you to meet a guy who gives you a push to follow your dreams, and the next thing you know, you're a marine captain who doubles as a secret agent of sorts. The world is full of possibilities, and I'm full of potential COVID. I'm Dawn of the World, and it is that time once again when I shine a proverbial light on something to do with One Piece. And today we're going to be talking about some of the scenarios and plot lines in this series that at the time seemed like a bad thing, but with hindsight we can see that they resulted in something good. The first example is something that occurred long before the start of the series, around 400 years to be precise. Noland and Kalgara meet in a pre-split Jaya, and after a rough start, a beautiful friendship sparks between the two of them. After a number of weeks together, Noland and his crew leave Jaya, the sacred bell ringing to welcome them back, and Noland promising that he'll one day return. Despite frequently thinking of each other and looking forward to the day that they could reunite, it was unfortunately never to happen. This is due to the fact that a year before Noland was to return to Jaya, a massive knock-up stream resulted in the land being torn in two, and the populated portion being blasted up into the sky, where it became known as Upper Yard. Unfortunately, Kalgara dies in the battle defending his homeland. A year later, when Noland returns, he's leading an expedition including the king of his home country, Livneal Kingdom or something like that. I don't know how you say it out loud. Consisting of the king of his home country as well as a bunch of the king's guards, but none of Noland's original crew. They arrive on Jaya only to find little to no trace of the village Noland befriended, nor the city of Shandora. Noland is branded a liar and sentenced to death. There doesn't seem to be an upside to this, right? But in the long term, there is. I think that being blasted into the sky is actually what kept Shandora safe from the world government for these past 400 years. This is especially important when you consider Skypia's potential ties to the One Piece and to the Void Century. Had it not been blasted up into the sky, then surely at some point in the past 400 years, the world government would have come in, likely killed all the Shandians, seized Shandora, erasing any secrets that it may contain, ties to the Void Century or even to the One Piece, and depending on how the rest of the series pans out, if Shandora wasn't blasted into the sky when it was, there might not even be a One Piece. The world government would have just won and there'd be no Great Age of Pirates, there'd be no story at all. At the very least, Livneal Kingdom was bad news, and the king clearly had an ulterior motive for wanting to visit the City of Gold, and it would have ultimately resulted in nothing good. It is for these specific reasons that even if it did result in Kalgara and Noland's story coming to a tragic end, Shandora being blasted into the sky was definitely a good thing. I have to say though, I really hope that Viper and Mont Blanc Cricket get to meet someday, even if we only see it through like a title page or cover page spread or whatever. I would have actually included them in my last discussion topic about One Piece reunions, but I didn't end up including them due to the fact they haven't had that initial meeting, but I do really want to see them meet. I also wonder if we'll find out more about Livneal Kingdom and about Noland's travels, since he seemed to have seen more of the world than we initially realised. From a story perspective, I actually think Noland possibly went to Elbaf, since one of the elders from Big Mom's flashback who survived, and may still be alive right now, would be around 410 years old if he was, meaning that as a child he may have met Noland in the flesh. On that note, I should do a Noland video, hey. After the Skypia arc, the Straw Hats are now majorly cashed up with all of the gold that the Skypians gave to them in order to express their gratitude, and they arrive in Water 7 as a pretty rich crew. They get the gold exchange for, I think it was 300 million belly, which is hella cash. Belly seems to be identical to Japanese yen. I miss Japan so much. If you're watching this video right now and you're in Japan, can you do one thing for me? Can you go into a Lawson or a Family Mart and just like stand there. But anyway, belly seems to be pretty identical with Japanese yen, so I pretty much assume that they have the same value. So 300 million yen is equivalent to $3 million, so yeah, hella cash. While Luffy, Nami and Usopp are exploring the shipyard, looking for someone who could potentially repair the Mary, we all know how that goes, Usopp is mugged and around 200 million belly is stolen. He then confronts Frankie in inarguably the worst first meeting between any two of the Straw Hats, in an unsuccessful bid to get the money back. The entire situation results in a massive fight between Usopp and Luffy, who had up until this point acted like best friends, and then in Usopp leaving the crew. This rift in and of itself was bound to happen at some point eventually, and given that I am very much of the party that this was birthed of some of the very deep-set abandonment issues that Usopp has that stem from his father leaving and his mother dying, this whole Going Merry incident just acted as a medium for those issues to surface and manifest in the way they did when they did, because if this fight didn't happen at Water 7, I'm pretty certain it would have happened at some point down the line anyway. But this, combined with Robin leaving and the Straw Hats being implicated in the attack on Iceberg, put our protagonists in an extremely unfavourable situation. I can only imagine what it would have been like to have been caught up with the series at this point and to be wondering how on earth is this going to work out. But the thing is, not only does it work out, it works out spectacularly well. After everything happens and the whole stolen 200 million belly is already pretty much forgiven and forgotten, Frankie comes to where the crew are staying and is like, hey, remember that money I stole? Because if you remember correctly, the Frankie family stole the cash specifically for their boss so that he could buy the thing he'd always wanted. And they hadn't been able to save any money before this point because, surprise, surprise, they're terrible with money. And Frankie then went out and bought the thing off the black market pretty much immediately after getting the money. Turns out what he bought was Adam's wood, the toughest, most durable material for building a ship. And Frankie just so happens to be a master shipwright and offers to give them the ship once it's complete. So in the end, the stolen 200 million belly goes towards getting them a ship far better than the one they could have even afforded with the entire 300 million. Making this one of the best examples of a blessing in disguise in the entire series, and also a brilliant example of Oda's masterful crafting of a conflict or complication that seems to be impossible to solve, but then ends up falling into place far better than anyone could have expected or imagined. The next one is a doozy. Sabaody Archipelago. After the incident at the auction house with the Tenryubudo, the Straw Hats are pursued by opponents far too strong for them, including Shichibukai Bartholomew Kuma, who they first encountered at Thriller Bark, and whose abilities are mysterious as his objectives and allegiances. And it is here that the Straw Hats face a crippling defeat, which sort of mirrors that moment at the end of Enies Lobby not so long ago, except the other way around. With a single strike of his palm, Kuma sends the 9 Straw Hats to 9 completely different locations around the world. Like, Robin is in East Blue. That's all the way back where the story started. She's in a part of East Blue we never saw. This Tequila Wolf and bridge that has been being built for 800 years is certainly a topic for a whole other discussion. But still, East Blue. This was and is still widely regarded as the worst thing that has ever happened to the crew. And yet in true diaconomical blessing in disguise fashion, it's also one of the best things that ever happened to them. Because let's be real, if they enter the new world as they were pre-time skip, they'd be dead. They would be so dead. They were not ready for the new world at all at this point, and it showed, and Kuma could tell, which is why he sent them to all these different places that in hindsight were specifically convenient to each of their areas of expertise and need. And so 2 years later they have their crew union at Sabaody Archipelago. We're stronger, we're smarter, we're slightly f***ier, and we are ready to take on the new world. Kuma knew exactly what he was doing, and his final act as a somewhat sentient being with his own free will was to guard the Thousand Sunny for those 2 years until the crew came back. I'm sure we're going to learn exactly what Kuma's story is one day, and I'm certain that it's going to be as intriguing as it'll be sad. So now, all conveniently powered up, the crew finally head down to Fishman Island. The whole Fishman Island arc takes place and the crew are gifted a palace worth of treasure to show the country's gratitude. Among this includes a certain Tama Tapeko box. However, during celebrations, the month's supply of candy from Big Mom's factory is eaten, invoking the potential wrath of Big Mom, which is neither what anyone wants nor needs. Luffy sends her all the treasure, including the Tama Tapeko box, in order to sate this. Turns out inside this box is a bomb. So Luffy has just sent Big Mom a bomb, and it's just sitting there on the back burner for the entirety of the Punk Hazard arc, for Dressrosa, for Zoe. It's just sitting there like a lurking legend, until the situation is finally diffused during the whole Cake Island arc. Within the arc itself, there's a whole lot of build up to the box being opened and all hell finally breaking loose. And when the bomb does finally go off, it's not destruction for the Straw Hats and allies, but it turns out to be their salvation. With Luffy, Sanji, and the Vinsmoke family about to be executed by the Big Mom pirates, the island-toppling detonation that had been years in the making served as a suitable distraction for them all to escape imminent death. Another true blessing in disguise. So the takeaway from this is maybe you're going through something right now that really kind of sucks, but then something good will come of it. I don't know, I'm not a life coaching channel. Unless One Piece is your life, and in the case you're watching this video, it probably somewhat is. I'm sure that there's plenty of blessings in disguise throughout the series that I've missed, but if you can think of any other examples, just let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to leave a like and a subscribe if you're interested in any of my upcoming content. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Later, guys.